Hi everybody, welcome to Cheems Unlimited. I start with this because you happen to be my favorite people allowing for my self-expression. So yes, coming directly to the point, guys, today Cheems wants to tell you that it's okay to bear stress. It's okay to let stress be a part of your system. It's okay for anxiety to build because that is what makes you who you are. Everybody has stress, everybody has anxiety in different ratios, proportions. I mean, if 70% of the human mass is supposed to be water, then I think in my case 99.99% of my entire system is stress, and I so love it now. And this is coming from a person whose life choices and life experiences have been seriously inhibited, restricted, confined, constrained because I couldn't pursue my career. Anxiety and stress held me back. Yeah, not that I am subscribing to being anxious and not being able to achieve and taking that as an excuse, but I'm just trying to tell you I don't want you to persecute yourself anymore. Over to Viktor Frankl. Thus, it can be seen that mental health is based on a certain degree of tension. The tension between what one already has achieved and what one still ought to accomplish, or the gap between what one is and what one should become. Thus, it can be seen that mental health is based on a certain degree of tension, the tension between what one has already achieved and what one still ought to accomplish, or the gap between what one is and what one should become. Such a tension is inherent in the human being and therefore is indispensable to mental well being. Such a tension is inherent in the human being and therefore is indispensable to mental well being. We should not, then, be hesitant about challenging man with a potential meaning for him to fulfill. It is only thus that we evoke this will to meaning from its state of latency. I consider it a dangerous misconception of mental hygiene to assume that what man needs in the first place is equilibrium. I consider it a dangerous misconception of mental hygiene to assume that what man needs in the first place is equilibrium, or, as it is called in biology, homeostasis, that is, a tensionless state. What man actually needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal, a freely chosen task. What man actually needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal, a freely chosen task. What he needs is not the discharge of tension at any cost, but the call of a potential meaning waiting to be fulfilled by him. What he needs is not the discharge of tension at any cost, but the call of a potential meaning waiting to be fulfilled by him. Coming back to his first sentence. Thus, it can be seen that mental health is based on a certain degree of tension, the tension between what one has already achieved and what one still ought to accomplish, or the gap between what one is and what one should become. Amazing. Get your copy now. I owe a lot to Dr. Frankl because he's helped me consolidate what I have believed all along. This tension is part of me. It's throbbing inside me, part of my cell, part of my body language, part of my value system, and I am not letting go. It may have damaged me, but has it really? No. I think it's made me accomplish what I could never had. It's made me accept myself in the biggest, best way possible. So, to tell you a joke, guys, years ago, there's this very dear friend who had this stomach problem, chronic stomach problem, and she was admitted to the hospitals, and the doctor said endoscopy. Endoscopy was done. She was very uncomfortable. I mean, she got better with the meds. And at the time of being discharged, her mom, as usual, went to the doctor and asked him, I mean, after taking the prescription, about certain do's and don'ts that could help them in the long run or the immediate future after discharge and being at home convalescing. So yes, she went up to the doctor and put up the strange question, doctor, do's and don'ts, and the doctor just randomly said few things beyond the prescription. And then she popped this question. She said, "Doctor, what about tension? My daughter gets very tense." Very interestingly, the doctor looked at the lady with a very calm demeanor and smiled, and she said, टेंशन अच्छा, इसकी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है बहन जी, टेंशन जितनी मर्जी है लीजिए. So the doctor rather reassured the mother that it was okay for her daughter to get as tense as she wanted to, because he in that moment realized that getting tense or being anxious is a part of her natural system. She processes things that way, and any kind of imbalance or any kind of process that would try to establish some equilibrium would rather put her into imbalance and put her through some extreme stress of negotiating with her tense demeanor. And yes, that is what it was all about. That was a very revealing moment to me, and I am remembering it today, listening to Dr. Frankel's words. So get your copy of Man's Search for Meaning. Jokes apart, whenever teams get overly anxious and tense, I do what Atlas should have done. Carrying too much burden? So Atlas shrugs. Just shrug. So yes, please be tense today. Please be anxious today. And be who you are, because you know that you can take care of yourself. And get a copy of that book. With all my heart, I tense you.